Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a Leather Element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So I talked to a lot of folks that are new to the craft, and they all have a very similar question. What piece of leather do I buy to get started? Well, it's a great question because it can be confusing. In fact, we've got a video that lists each and every cut. But for us crafters, we're a little bit different from the production shop. Profit, not our motivation. We're more into the enjoyment of the craft, and we're always on a budget. So we're going to talk about cost, absolutely. But we'll also talk about quality. It's Weaver. Yeah, we almost don't even have to talk about that one here. But third, we're going to talk about the size of the piece of leather. Now, when we say that, we think of square footage. Actually, I'm talking about something different here. Great point. I've got a 6-foot long cutting table. I've got another foot, maybe 14 inches on that end, 2 feet additional on that end for my pattern table, 9 feet plus. When I roll out a side, I have to take everything off of this table because that side's going to go from one end to the other. For us crafters, if we're working on our kitchen table or coffee table or a small desk in a bedroom, that is absolutely the wrong cut for us. Now we're saving money per foot, absolutely, but we're gonna have to multiply that times 5 simply for irritation. So again, I'm gonna take that into account as well. Right here, I've got 3 perfect cuts of leather for us. One of these is my favorite. Now I've got a 4th over here. Well, we're gonna talk about that simply because it's a weird name, but it's a great purchase. So let's start with a double shoulder. First up, my favorite cut of leather to work with, a double shoulder. Now let's back up though. For the folks that are new, we're going to deal with a natural veg tan. If you're new to leather, I always suggest you start here because the tannery has basically said, we're going to tan this leather up to this point. From here, totally up to you. Okay, we will rise to that challenge because now we can stamp it, tool it, wet form it, we can dye, antique, top coat, add paint. So many ways we can go with this. Okay, the other type of leather, we're not really going to talk about this, but just as a reference, this is a chrome tan leather. This is a garment and upholstery leather, typically sold in sides and hides. So it's a good bit of leather, but those folks need larger panels. Well, I typically call these a cut and sew because we can't stamp, we can't tool, top coat, paint, anything. This is ready to cut and sew together, okay? So back over to our natural veg tan. Well, a couple of things we're going to look for in this. Right off the bat, Weaver leather. Notice the flesh side of this tannage. That actually is beautiful. That's the first sign of a quality piece of leather. So let's open this up. Typically, these are about 12 and a half, maybe 13 square feet. Well, right off the bat, we don't have this enormously long piece of leather to work with. But look at the quality of this. This actually feels good. Now, lengthwise, we've got about 55 inches here, so we could get up to about a large belt on this. If we need to go larger, we have an option. We'll talk about that. But this is a great leather for all manner of belt, strap, sheath, holster, journal, purse, bag, all kinds of ways we can go with this, and it's available in multiple weights. Now, weight-wise, I would suggest we keep a 4 to 5 ounce and an 8 to 9 ounce in our shop. Those are the 2 pieces of leather I always have because a 4 to 5, perfect for a pouch weight. Lighter weight projects, 8 to 9, standard belt weight. All kinds of projects we can take out of that. So a double shoulder, one of my favorite cuts. Okay, I'm gonna roll this up. Let's reset to a little more economical option. Let's go over to a single shoulder. This is exactly half of a double shoulder, smaller cut, less expensive. And in fact, I use these in most of our videos for that reason. But before we open this up, again, notice the flesh side on this. Very smooth, clean and tight, right up to the edge. This is gonna dye, stamp, and tool very well, even for a less expensive piece of leather. At Weaver, we've been buying these from the same tannery for over 40 years. Those folks know what they're doing. Now, these typically are going to be about 7.5 square feet. I notice ours are typically a good bit larger. This is 10.25 square feet. Now, the boss is going to say, don't say that. So don't hold us to that. But where that's important is that this is a one-piece price. We're paying one price for the whole piece, not by the foot. So therefore, if we get a little more footage, we're actually paying less per square foot. But for the crafter, what a great cut of leather. And one other point, I deal with a lot of blacksmiths. Great folks, they're just like we are, just a little bit bulkier, right? But they're typically looking for a piece of leather to make sheaths with, knife sheaths. Well, right here, if they're looking for something like maybe 3 inches by 14, 16 inches, we actually could get about 10, maybe more out of this piece. Now, if we actually really cut that a lot closer, no telling what we could get out of this. But for us crafters, it's a great piece of leather. Now, we don't have a lot of length, so not just right for belts, but for all other projects. Now, one other point, yeah, I know like we haven't said enough about these. For the production shops, this is a good piece of leather because say in my shop, I don't typically use a 6 to 7, but I need one once in a while. It's nice to have an inexpensive cut in my shop that I can draw on so I don't have to keep an entire side of one weight that I rarely use. Now, one more piece, we're actually going to step down a little bit. And over to the lowly belly. Actually, that is not the case at all for us crafters. It's a great, very inexpensive piece of leather. Now, this is the belly of the hide, so therefore it's the least preferable piece of leather for the production shops. The tannery is going to strip this off, so the production shop gets more of a rectangular piece of leather. Like say a belt maker, they're going to have less waste. But that's good news for us crafters because now we get a very affordable piece of leather. Notice the flesh side, same tannage as everything else. It's just this piece has been stripped off. Right here we have absolutely got a great piece of leather. I think this one is coming in at 6 1/4 square feet. Now we're going to lose some of the belly. Absolutely, that's part of it. One of the reasons a production shop doesn't want it because they're paying for leather they can't use. But for us, out of this piece, if this is 6 1/4, I probably have 5 3/4 square feet of good leather. And again, for the production shop, it's nice to have one of these around in a weight of leather that we rarely use. In fact, once in a while, when I order a side, I'll get a belly with that side of a weight that I rarely use. So really, I'm not paying much shipping on that. And next to a side, I barely notice the cost of this next to the side. So therefore, I've got this on my shelf. Well, here's why I feel like that's almost free. Because a job, an order, a project comes through, I need that weight of leather. So I go over to my shelf, I grab it, I use it, I move on. If I don't have that weight in my shop, now I have to order it. I got to pay for it. I got to pay for shipping. I got to wait for it to get here. So in all honesty, it kind of feels like it's free. It isn't, but it feels that way. All right, one more, and we're going to look at this because, again, it's a very odd name, but it is a great piece of leather and a good deal. I'm not sure I can even get this entire piece of leather in this shot. Look at this double shoulder, it's huge. I've got a 6-foot cutting table hanging off on both ends. This is called a V-cut double shoulder. When I was new at leather, I'd see V-cut and I would move on. Wasn't sure what it was. Wish I hadn't because this is one of the best deals in natural veg tan. So a V-cut, all that means is this is from a Brahma bull, big hump. They're gonna cut a V around that hump. That would be a mess to the tanning process. But look at the size of this double shoulder. I've got a 6-foot cutting table here. I'm hanging off on both ends, but this isn't all of it. Yeah, look at all that leather. These are going to average around 18, 19 square feet. Now, again, we're paying a per piece price as opposed to a per foot price. Makes this incredibly affordable. Now, for us crafters, big piece of leather to work with. But if we can buy this, cut it down, use it in our shop, we're paying a great per foot price. Love this leather. Now, in my opinion, if I'm going to stamper tool, probably not the best way to go, but it's a good piece of leather. It's going to dye well, form well, and it's going to look good. One of the things I feel like I can't say loud enough or often enough is this. If you buy a quality piece of leather, your projects are going to reflect that, even though your skills have not increased. And at Weaver, we've got a wide range of quality, affordable pieces of leather in multiple weights. We'll take care of you. I hope this is good information for you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.